how much Morgan loves the croc.
Exactly, and I think they're more hovering it there to show we know Morgan is going to take this. WE will first rotation this Renekton in a lot of their games to make sure that Morgan gets it. You're going to see it here. But I think LGD going towards the Ashe is the better option here, especially when, again, you can try and play from range. You can start going back towards some of these picks that do very well with kiting back, as we saw in the last game. And although Beishang has got his hands on this Graves, he's going to be looking like he'll have control in this jungle matchup. You still got to wait and see what Peanut can pull out, and especially how Xiye and Teacherma's matchup will influence that jungle.
We're going to see Lilia hovered every game of this series, I guess, as Peanut moves away from the Lilia pick, goes to this Kindred. It's something we mentioned before. Peanut is more than happy to play a carry in that jungle.
And this would be perfect. Something like an Ornn that can set up for a follow-up engage, does okay into that top lane matchup, but more importantly, can control the zones in these fights. Makes it difficult for Beishang to move in. Same when you look towards some of these AD carries, and you've got that big Call of the Forge God, plus these late game items for your double AD carries. LGD are setting up wonderfully for this late game.
So Jin being hovered here by WE as the option up against the Ashe in the bottom lane. It has to be said though, Jin not good against the tanks like we're seeing the Ornn in the top lane, and WE decide Jiumeng, he was not the problem in game number 1. The Ezreal was fine, they lock it in again.
And now I want to see what the plan is here from WE and LGD when we look towards bans. Support would be the way I go for WE. The Thresh isn't one we traditionally think of with Killua, but definitely has been playing it a lot in solo queue. I know once you were talking about that before the game started, but definitely want to see them go back towards something like the Braum or along the lines of this Tahm Kench as well. I think Braum would work super well with the composition LGD have in keeping Morgan out of these fights, making it difficult for Beishang to have these big impactful moments, and say it along the lines of Jiumeng.
So we are going to see the Karma band away here from Teacherma, all missing. Both of them been willing to pick it up. I wouldn't be surprised to see more support bans coming out from WE. I would love to see them ban the Tahm Kench. Killua looked amazing on Tahm Kench in game number 1, and it meant that it was so difficult for WE to pull off plays, but they're going for Syndra.
They're going for Syndra, yeah. That's exactly what that ban says. And going to be the Orianna taken away from Teacherma. So this is one of the picks Teacherma has started to move towards, is the likes of the Sylas and also this Orianna. Syndra has been the fallback for Teacherma, though, before he added these 2 extra champions to his pool. So I imagine that's going to be the game plan here. Although, might be looking to take away the Braum. We were just talking about how good that would be for Killua.
This is a little bit curious now, because Xiye could just take away the Syndra. So this feels like maybe they're trying to bait Xiye into the Syndra pick.
Xiye's a super strong Syndra. Now, it did get nerfed.
It doesn't feel like a big bait to me.
Yeah,
it feels like you're just giving Syndra away.
Yeah. Now, Syndra doesn't do so hot against the likes of the Braum, and you've got enough there that it could be a bit of an issue, but definitely Xiye Syndra has been incredible. He's got a 63% win rate on the champion, and even though it did get nerfed, we saw how strong it still can be yesterday from Mole in that last V5 game.
Oh, you can see the Chinese fan vote at the bottom of your screen. It was slightly more favorable for WE towards the start. It was about, 35% in game number 1. That has dropped significantly, and it looks like LGD not going to opt into this Syndra despite the Echo ban here. And it looks like they may go for this Sylas, which is interesting because Sylas has been a pick that Xiye's played a good amount, but it was one of the picks that Teacherma started to play towards the end of the split.
Sorry, and it does particularly well into the Syndra matchup as well. You're relatively tanky, you can look to trade aggressively, you can still do okay in this lane, kind of neutralize it to a certain extent, but the big thing here is that this is like a Xiye special. He's got a 57% win rate on it, oftentimes ends up banned by enemy teams against him as well in almost 45% of their games, so this is something where Xiye can shine and can put in these big carry performances.
So off the back of the draft then, Dagda, how are we feeling? Because to me, just on face value, feels pretty good for LGD, especially when we look towards the later stages of the game. But there's a bit more comfort here for WE with things like the Renekton for Morgan.
I do agree. The biggest problem that I see, though, is actually being able to operate in these team fights as WE. Because you're relying heavily on Morgan to be your engage to alongside, say, a Scat of the Week from Teacherma. And when you're looking at LGD, who've got Ashe to play far back, you've got Peanut with this Stay Alive ultimate as well, makes it very difficult for you to try and enact these big burst combos coming through from Teacherma, the follow-up burst coming through from Morgan. It just means WE have a bit of a difficult time in, 1, getting into these fights, and 2, when they get there, having the damage to kill off multiple members from LGD very quickly.
Well, Dagda's certainly liking the look of LGD coming into game number 2. Let us know on Twitter as well who you're fancying. Hashtag WE win or hashtag LGD win. Get involved in the conversation and tweet at LPL English as well to let us know what's going on. But I've still got faith, Dagda. I still believe in WE as we head towards game number 2. I believe that they can make this happen now. Morgan has got himself a bit more comfort in the top lane, but I'm still keeping my eyes on that mid lane. Xiye against his old squad, against Teacherma. And he looked fantastic in game number 1. Let's see if he can repeat game 1's performance.
WE 加油！你们不只是少年。老干爹加油！
We're on Summoner's Rift once more. Game number 2 here between WE and LGD. LGD the 6th seed against WE the 7th. And game number 1, in case you missed it, ladies and gentlemen, was very one-sided in favor of LGD. Now WE, with their backs against the ropes, have to try and fight back in this series to prove that they have moved on from Xiye.
And the reason I'm a little bit doubtful of that for WE.
It's beautiful.
It is. Nice little way to bring us into game 2. LGD's composition, though, just very nicely slots in with the puzzle that is LGD trying to make these engages towards the later portion of the game happen. Langx has been such a crucial tool for them on this Ornn. They have an 80% win rate with us. Xiye on the Sylas as well opts in as another engage tool for them, where he's got the chains to try and set up these fights. And between Langx and Xiye, they have been the primary engage tools for this squad when they look good. Now you've got them on 2 champions that do just that. LGD feel like they've found, again, the puzzle that fits them so well.
And once again, so much of this game is going to come down to the jungle matchup, because we've got Peanut versus Beishang, and Peanut certainly found the advantages in game number 1 when it came to that matchup. But this time around on the Kindred against Graves, I'd expect Graves to have the advantage at least to start things off.
You would definitely when it comes to your clear speed. Beishang is going to be going very aggressively, and especially when Beishang going aggressive with the Ignite Smite combo as well. So he'll be looking to try and get into the face of Peanut and be a little bit more of more in command when it comes to these jungle invades that come around. He should be able to do so. Teacherma will have control of this mid lane. He's got Syndra primed for that push Braum potential that we talked about with the WE mid laner. So I want to see how Teacherma and Beishang can get into Peanut's jungle and get these plays off nice and early.
I have to say, I'm glad Beishang changed the right summoner spell. He was at risk of losing a month's salary there if he'd misclicked the wrong one. But I am interested to see what Beishang can do, because he does have this Graves once more. It's a pick that he has shown real prevalence on this split, and it's something that he has carried games for WE on. But Morgan already having a bit of a hard time in this top side. Obviously, Renekton does have a good amount of sustain if you can get the cool meek around the whole minion wave.
But he also wants to try and catch out Langx with the edge of that as well, because you do get a little bit of extra healing, but Langx doing a good job of trading aggressively, then backing the hell out of there when Morgan doesn't have the opportunity to trade back. Xiye, though, already taken relatively low, and this is the same change that we saw from WE in their series in the regular split. Beishang starting to play far more aggressively towards this mid lane, because he realizes, hey, look, especially on something like a Syndra, we get Teacherma rolling. We're in a great spot here as WE.
And it's kind of the opposite to what you'd expect out of WE playstyle-wise. It's usually Teacherma getting out of the mid lane to get people fed elsewhere on the map, but more recently in summer, when we've seen things like the Syndra, things like the Sylas out of Teacherma, while he generally is still roaming away, Beishang has given him a little bit more attention.
Killua going for a quick grab onto Kramer there. Not really needed, but definitely this is a lane in the bottom side of the map. It's going to be pretty stale. You've got a Tahm Kench versus a Braum Ezreal. There's going to be no action happening there. Instead, we got to see what will happen when Kramer, if he can get that shove off in the bottom lane, start to knock through these turret plates instead.
Morgan, I wasn't sure if he was going to try proxy a wave there for a second, as he somehow ended up on the wrong side of the tower. Got a slice and dice back over to the lane. Didn't miss ADC Ashe, just some shenanigans, I guess.
What I want to see WE do is work in conjunction with Morgan this game, though. When you've got Teacherma who can get it aggressively, when you've got Beishang who's going for these aggressive summoner spells as well, a dive in towards this top side of the map with 3 champions would net a very quick kill against Langx, but they need to get off the bat early before Langx starts to get too tanky, before he gets access to the Call of the Forge God. We can see the TP, or at least the back coming through from Teacherma here, where I want to see him TP mid, push out this wave aggressively, especially not quite able to get the corrupting potion, but still will have the advantage when it comes to shove, and then move towards this top side.
Yeah, the Dark Seal's certainly going to help him with the mana regen there as well. But let's kind of visit the identities that we set up right at the start of today, Dagda, because, hang on, Xiye going pretty aggressive onto Teacherma. Still not going to quite land on the Scat of the Week there, so Teacherma can't quite trade back. But when we look at Langx on this Ornn, this is more what we expected out of Langx, not the carries like the Jason. Even though he looked amazing on the Jason game #1, this is much more his style. Langx doing a lot of work in this mid lane. He is winning this lane hard.
And you can see the effects of that nerf towards Syndra. So she got a bunch of her damage taken off her Dark Sphere, the Q, and you can see not able to trade back as effectively. Bot side, though.
Beishang trying to make a play. Killua forced to flash out from this one as Kramer looking to punish. Peanut now stepping into the jungle, and Teacherma is found alone. Does get the stun from the Scat of the Week. Barely gets out with his life. Flash still available, and with Beishang here, he's going to be safe. Beishang stepping past Peanut. I think he knew he was there potentially, but just deciding, you know what, I'm going to allow it. I'm going to go clear the wave mid.
This again, though, is slowing down the pace of the game for WWE. Now, they're not exactly on a timer where it's like, if you don't get to these early kills, you're going to fall behind. But certainly when you look at a double AD carry composition with Ornn in the top lane, late game's going to favor LGD. So I want to see WWE getting off to these early starts where they can start making these aggressive plays. But when you've already got Teacherma shoved back thanks to that play from Peanut, and now you're securing that early dragon for LGD as well, it feels like it's not the start that Beishang really wanted in this game.
Beishang's been struggling a little bit, but it has to be said, against Peanut, that's probably to be expected. Peanut has been one of the players that, even back in spring, when LGD finished, I think it was 16th in the regular split, Peanut still looked exceptional. Peanut still looked like a top 5 jungler in the whole league, which is incredibly impressive on a team that is in 16th place. Now, he's got a team around him as well. So this summer, Peanut has looked exceptional. Beishang has been in the conversation with the top junglers in the league. It feels like Peanut's really giving him a run for his money.
And it says a lot when LGD scrapped the entire squad and just said, hey, look, we're building around Peanut. And that's why we've got LGD, who we talked about traditionally being very aggressive in these early stages. Peanut getting out onto the map, making these plays towards Langx in the top lane. This time around, though, Peanut realizes, hey, look, I've got a bit of an issue here where Beishang, especially with this Ignite, he's going to beat me in a 1v1. We've got Morgan and Teacherma who controlling the pace of the game through their 2 lanes. So instead, he's taking a little bit of a step back and instead looking to help his team escort these minion waves in and make sure that they're not overextended in a bunch of situations. You can see it here in the bottom side of the map where, okay, we're a bit worried with where Killua and Kramer are positioned right now. I'm going to pop down here, make sure they can push in that wave nicely and not get bothered by Beishang anytime soon.
Missing gets away on a blast gun here as LGD look to answer for the blue buff that was stolen on the top half of the map here. Peanut going to set that up for Xiye to grab for himself. You know, grab a Grump on top of it because he knows that Beishang took his entire top side of the jungle. True Shot Mirage did connect onto Peanut. With the smite coming on through here, Peanut gets himself another stack. That's 2 now already.
A split map like this favors LGD super well because, as you said, stacks for Kindred, fantastic. But you're also getting chip damage on bottom. But
There's going to be some stacks on Peanut's tombstone right here as the Q comes out from Braum. Peanut jumping away, but Killua is here on the TK. He's going to get him out to safety.
And look, Beishang will be able to trade towards this Rift Tower at the top side, but we're already seeing Kramer is like, right, I'm going to start putting damage into the bottom lane tower, so they're trading already for these turret plates. And look, if Beishang puts a bunch of this gold in towards Morgan, it's like, well, we don't really mind. Morgan's not really going to be able to have a big impact in these fights unless he finds these massive flanks. They'd love instead for WE to put that gold into Jiumeng, but when you've got no real camps on the bottom side for Beishang, it feels a little bit sad to try and move down towards that bottom side.
So I do quickly want to talk about the lane matchups that we've got on our hands here because it feels different to game #1. In that game #1, LGD found advantages in the CS numbers in every single lane. And while they've managed to repeat that in the bottom lane, mid lane and top lane are going in favor of WE. In terms of the CS numbers at least, but Xiye wants to change that as he moves in. Peanut getting into the mid lane as well. Killua is here. LGD really want to punish Teacherma. They're not quite going to find the opportunity. As Beishang moves into the jungle here. They're going to clear the vision. They're going to maintain control of this bottom side Scuttle Crab. With missing here as well, Beishang can grab.
Nice job from WE to bully out LGD, although Teacherma does need to be careful about how much damage he's taking in this mid lane. Overall, though, this is, as you said, LGD playing a slower paced game than they did last time because there's no rush for them, although as I say that, already looking for the dive for WE in the bottom lane.
If that ain't a red flag that there's a dive coming, I don't know what is. Kramer is gone. Missing happy to take the tower there for now, and Beishang, he's got that Rift Herald if he wants to give that over. Jiumeng tanking tower for some reason there. Not quite sure why he was staying in range, but that is going to be a nice little play for WE. First blood for them, and they're not going to opt into dropping the Herald just yet.
I want to know what was going through Kramer's mind at that point in time, though. You see the gravestones over the wall, you're like, oh,
yeah,
boy,
there is a word that went through his mind that I'm not allowed to say on broadcast, Dagda, because I know exactly what he was thinking there. That one sucks for Kramer. That's the life of an Ashe, though. And obviously, Killua, this is one of the issues when you've got this Tahm Kench that is roaming around the map so much.
I'm surprised, though, that WE didn't put down the Rift Herald there. Because I want to see them put that gold in towards Jiumeng. That felt like the best time to secure a couple of these plates, set that tower really low, and especially when you've only got 3 minutes left until that turret plate falls, you would like to start solidifying those advantages in case some pesky business comes in from LGD in the meantime.
Could be a signal, though, that WE have something else in store for us over the next couple of minutes of the game.
Well, it's going to be towards the Dragon. I know that they want to try and use this Rift Herald to create pressure somewhere. But honestly, with how strong their team is right now, I think they can just put that gold in towards Jiumeng. He'll be able to back finish off a bunch of these items, and then you're in a pretty good spot comparatively to Kramer, who's only gone for the Cull and that FAM sector.
So Dragon number 2 going to be spawning here. This is the point in the game where WE lost everything in game number 1. Missing, might find himself in the same situation. Goes down for the second kill of the game as Jiumeng forced out of the bottom lane here by Kramer. And LGD, they're going to be all over this Dragon like a rash.
And there you go, Missing's gone. Beishang's lost control now of his lanes. He's not going to be able to play this Rift Herald to the same extent. You can see it's nearly timing out, so he needs to get this down soon. But it makes it a lot easier for LGD to try and defend. And now Jiumeng, the main carry for WE, the guy we talked about who, Rookie of the Year, 35% of this team's damage, is going to lose out on a bunch of this gold.
Do you have a Herald that could be used mid lane? Xiye barely gets out with his life. Flash going to be used. Beishang could have his opportunity now to drop that Herald. This will be 3 plates going the way of WE in the mid lane. Peanut threatening that he wants to go in. He's just going to let the Wolf chomp on these minions a little bit. It's good for the teeth. Dogs like to chew on things. That's law of the universe. As Peanut will be able to clear the Herald, but that's going to be 4 plates taken by WE. Nice answer for the Dragon.
Yeah, for anyone who hasn't read, Kindred's lore, it actually specifically says that Wolf prefers raptor bones. You know, it's written in there in the scroll.
Does it actually?
No.
Oh, okay.
But well, maybe.
I was excited then. I was like,
way,
damn, Dagda knows his lore.
WE still good. They managed to get that tower in the mid lane. I still would have preferred that goal to be on towards Jiumeng. You can have Teacherma carry you through this mid game, but honestly, that's what Teacherma, Morgan, and Beishang are kind of here for. Jiumeng needs to be the one that's going to set up as the main carry for this squad.
Which is not as surprising. That is what you expect out from WE. This has been the way that they operate for the entire year. But it's important to reiterate that Jiumeng has really stepped up to that role. When we talked about it in spring, we were like, hey, they're always going to play around bot side, because if they don't, Jiumeng might run it down. Now in summer, it's like, okay, they're going to play around bot side because Jiumeng is the premier carry on this squad, and he has looked like one of the best AD carries in the entire league, winning Rookie of the Split.
Yeah, he's top 3 for me right now. And, I mean, like, it's Loken, Jackie Love, and then Jiumeng. That's where these guys lie for me, and that's incredible for Jiumeng, especially as the rookie AD carry, you said. When you put him in towards veteran names like that, it is insane for WE, and especially to see his growth, how he's improved from spring to summer. It is impeccable performances from Jiumeng.
And it's great to see so far in game number 2 them going even or finding themselves some slight advantages here over LGD. Because let's just remember that you're mentioning Kramer is an incredibly experienced player. You can say that for 4 of the players on LGD. It's just the support role that is a player that hasn't been to Worlds. The rest of the squad have all attended Worlds. Peanut managing to grab himself second place at Worlds, managing to win an MSI as well. Like, this is an exceptionally experienced roster from LGD. And honestly, that's why I was so surprised that when we saw that interview with Peanut coming in towards game number 2, that he didn't feel confident coming into playoffs because the squad was such a new squad.
Sometimes that pressure is what forges diamonds, and right now LGD with that pressure seem to have kicked it up a gear, and this is where that veterancy comes in, where they can really take on new heights. Now in this game, it's been a lot slower. We haven't seen LGD get ahead too far or kind of do too much, but certainly that game 1 looked very much LGD in control. This time around though, WE in a much better position. We saw that early Rift Tower go their way, but now coming to try and contest the second one, although Xiye does need to be careful here.
Xiye, I've been impressed at how much he wants to go aggressive here onto Teacherma, trying to punish every single time. Teacherma steps just a little bit out of position, but does need to be cautious because Beishang has shown he's more than happy to jump into the fray there.
And this is difficult for WE, where you can see how much pressure Peanut is putting towards that Rift Herald, but LGD are guaranteed a Terra bot lane if Jiumeng tries to leave, and they're not feeling confident enough right now that they can just try and fight 3v3, especially with some of the tank stats that have come in for Langx in the top lane, and how well Xiye is playing in this game.
And it's worth mentioning as well that Peanut grabbing this Herald on the top side, still going to be on 2 stacks of that Kindred, and in the meantime, Beishang is able to get the bottom side scuttle. Killua is in trouble here, gets knocked up. That's going to be heal force. That True Shot Barrage isn't quite enough as the redemption comes through, just so they can tank the tower long enough. Peanut did get the Herald, and now he moves up towards the top side. Morgan, it is your time to shine as you're going to be in a 2v1 as Kramer forced a flash. There's 2 summoners blown in the bottom side. In the meantime, Teacherma gets a kill onto Xiye. WE are picking up the pace.
And Missing's going to be able to stop this back here as well, so this means you're getting a bunch of turrets on the bottom side. You're going to get that turret in the mid, and even though the Rift Tower's going down to the top side for LGD, this is a better trade for WE.
Fantastic stuff from WE here as we head towards the mid-game. The Herald will be used to finish this tower off on the top side. Might be able to get a second charge. I thought Logic was going to let it die to the turret there. Morgan might be able to answer. Peanut did just grab himself a 3rd stack, though.
And that 2,000 gold lead has now accelerated to a 4,000 gold lead for WE. And now we're starting to see with WE in control, they can start to make these plays happen. Picking the mid towards Xiye. They're getting down the mid lane structure, the bottom lane structure. They can get the vision control down that enables Beishang to play aggressively into the enemy side of the map. This is where WE shine, and this is where they're going to get to play their game.
Let's take another look at this pick onto Xiye against the old jungler there. I mean, it was just clean. It was just clean.
You gotta kind of respect that team he used to play for Xiye, even if you're not fully convinced. And looks like Killua doesn't even get the back off down on this bottom side. Didn't even catch this one.
I mean, easy picks coming out here. Arrow comes on through as Langx going to be tanking on the front line. Teacherma's low, did get his ultimate out and might just walk away with his life as well. In the meantime, Jiumeng getting chased down by Xiye, finished off as he nearly finished both carries with a single ultimate. LGD coming out on top of the fights. Beishang is here to contest on the Dragon. Knocked up though, and Xiye should be able to finish this kill off. Beishang barely surviving and will be finished off as Xiye is desperate to carry this game. Now a TP coming out from the side of Teacherma. He wants to re-engage this fight, but Syndra cannot jump into the front line. That's not the side of LGD. Mow through the health bars. Morgan's doing what he can, but what he can is not a whole lot.
There are 2 things that seem to be conducive with this series. One is Teacherma getting out on a single life point, and 2 is WE throwing at dragons, because this is the 2nd time now in this series we've seen WE go towards these dragon fights. They're not able to get on towards the key carries, and LGD are picking them apart.
Oh, that's heartbreaking, Degda. That's going to be 3 dragons now in favor of LGD, and WE just can't seem to get the ducks in a row here. Felt like they were joining in the fights at different times. Teacherma, and I mean, we didn't quite see how the fight started, but it felt like it was Teacherma getting caught out of position.
And this is what we talked about. This is where LGD are most confident to set up these plays. When Langx is on an engaged top laner, they look beautiful. Teacherma manages to escape on 1 HP as Xiye finishes off Jiumeng, and there's no protection. There's no one here. Even with Missing on this Braum, the team is way too scattered. LGD are able to pick up this fight that's just numbers advantage for them right now. And even when Teacherma comes in, he is way too deep. He should have TP to one of these wards in front of his team so then they can try and aggress forward, but it's easy there. LGD turn directly on towards Teacherma. You still all this time have the open Peanut, and it's, I don't know, WE, you gotta pick your fights properly.
It's the fact that they continue to contest there. That was the issue to me. Like, you can lose the fight, you can lose the dragon, but then when you commit the rest of your players to the play, after the dragon's already lost, I'm not sure what the arrow was. Kramer trying to get some poke down.
Trying to steal the blue. He was trying to see if he could make that splash damage, steal it away. I mean, if Kramer's firing out arrows at this point in time like that, you got to be feeling pretty good. There goes the collateral damage to just push back WE. Redemption responds, but it will mean LGD can't quite crack open this turret. Whereas Jiumeng on this top side, just getting a lot of gold fed in towards him.
Certainly will, and he's at that 2-item mark, which is, generally speaking, when Ezreal will start to really fire off in these team fights. It's just whether or not we actually get to see a team fight that they can group as 5 and make this happen. Because let's bear in mind, with this Ornn, if you're fighting in the river, if you're fighting in these jungle paths, Ornn's going to have a whale of a time.
And here's the thing. You're waiting for WE for a couple more items to come in on Jiumeng. As you said, you still want the likes of that stance to come in as the 3rd item, and that's when Ezreal really starts to kick things up a notch. Beishang as well, he's in a really good spot with the Black Cleaver and also having his jungle item completed, but honestly, if I come to a team fight in the next 2 minutes for this Ocean Soul, I'm still favoring LGD massively so. Just because you've got hard spikes coming in, Xiye having that GLP, going to be working up towards that Langx tournament, looks like as well now. Kramer's got his 2 items finished as well. Like, they're in a great spot here as LGD to just close out this next dragon and then win the game off the back of a nice Ocean.
Well, the Colonel's on board, but only 4.9% so right now.
Sorry, I'd actually like to correct myself. Oh, it is the Langx tournament. I actually was going to say, probably would have preferred a Banshee's Veil coming through for Xiye here. I think when you've got enough of the CC lock, the impactful stuns that can come through from both Missing and also Teacherma, the Banshee's Veil could have helped out in just that initial engage, but still the Andrew's tournament going to do a lot of work for him here against W.
Yeah, going to be hitting that 2nd item mark, and it is a nice power spike coming out from Xiye in the mid lane. And a lot of this is going to rest on Xiye, because in that last fight, he was comfortably the star player from the side of LGD, able to force Teacherma out of the play. Nearly got 2 kills with the stolen True Shot Barrage. And he managed to solo out Jiumeng as well. So if he can get in those positions, but once again, it feels like these fights across the course of this series have more been WE mispositioning as opposed to LGD catching or setting up a play for themselves.
You can see it here. WE very spread out, trying to see if they can get onto a flank position so then LGD can't set up for a front-to-back engage, but it's really difficult for them to actually find a favorable engage when LGD are able to keep them at bay.
Yeah, Xiye stolen Glacial Fissure, which is not usually what you see out from a Sylas, but you know, if it works, it works. I'm not 100% sure of the AP scaling of that one, but I guess we'll find out in the next fight. As Drake is going to be spawning in 20 seconds, WE don't want to let this one go. Good damage onto Killua. It's going to be Jiumeng jumping over the wall, but immediately takes an arrow. Missing is here, blocks the call of the Forge God. That's going to deter a lot of what LGD can do. That might open the dragon for WE. Xiye trying to punish. Jiumeng keeps himself at a safe distance here.
Peanut's hopped over the wall though. He's actually soloing out this, or going to be ready to solo out this dragon when it does spawn and then be able to pack back over. But WE will start to turn towards the objective.
Yeah, Peanut ain't solo here, that's for sure. Beishang's moved over, as have the rest of the squad. Bear in mind, Call of the Forge God's still going to be on cooldown here. As we do see the Abyssal Voyage to get back into play. Peanut in to try and get the steal. It goes the way of Beishang. Peanut survives with the Lamb's Respite as Langx tries to get in to protect his jungler, but Beishang shuts him down. Now the True Shot Barrage across the team as Morgan will be able to stop Langx escaping. The stun doesn't come out though, and they're trying to get onto Killua. That's going to be a stun from the Scout of the Week, and Beishang trying to finish these ones off. WE chasing for more on this one. Kramer trying to kite flash from Missing is answered by Kramer. And LGD, they get away with 3 members, but it's WE that grab a dragon.
They've led them straight towards this Baron, though. This would be a confident play from WE. Not sure if I want to go for this, though. You still have 3 members from LGD up right now, and Teacherma is nearly dead.
This is the LPL that I know and love. It's Teacherma that's going to be heading back to base because he has his TP available. Baron down to 6,000. Peanut is nowhere near the play, so Beishang has smite advantage here. Morgan, no Dominus. The health bars are low. Missing just trying to block for now as Kramer gets in. They're all stuck against the wall, but the Baron does go down in the end. Teacherma re-engaging onto the play. Here we go with the slow across the team. It's going to be... Oh, everyone's fallen. Xiye! Xiye's gone huge! Quadra kill comes in. That's going to be... just a quadra because Kramer stole it.
How could you do it to him, Kramer? Xiye's story was to slap back WE. The chains come out, they whip around, and WE are sent back to the base. LGD managed to turn that one around in what was some dicey play.
My goodness, WE try and make the LPL Baron happen, but Xiye sends him packing. He's now got 7 kills, he gets the Quadra, and he shows everybody why he's the all-star mid lane.
And that's the difference between veterancy, experience, and WE. Unfortunately, they don't have people that can make these calls in clutch situations. They go towards that Baron. Teacherma has already been knocked down and has to go back towards base because LGD have been able to poke him out. LGD then is a 3-man unit, turn towards WE, take the fight, and by the skin of their teeth make this play happen. We're going to get the pro view from Xiye, but look at how everyone on WE's grouped up. Perfect for the likes of these bodies, perfect for the chain lashes coming through from Xiye. And when Beishang steps forward, when he sees their low, it's a whirlwind of death from Xiye.
So close to just grabbing that pentakill as well.
Look at him, he was laughing the whole time. Oh, I can't believe Kramer stole that.
Kramer, you scumbag, how could you do this? But you know what, that was beautiful coming out from Xiye. It was beautiful from the whole side of LGD, because contesting that with Peanut not available as well, they knew that they wanted the fight, not the Baron, and they were able to find it in the end. The gold for the Baron did go the way of WE, so when it does come to the gold scores across the board, it is still just going to be even.
The thing is, though, LGD are able to defend these turrets in the mid. It's not like WE are able to push advantages with those structures. Instead, LGD are looking to play out in these side lanes. Peanut did a great job of shoving in on that bot side. Xiye now is shoving in his top lane as well. And with 2 minutes until this Ocean Dragon, they're in a good spot here with wave states on LGD side.
Yeah, they're in a fantastic spot as you can see Peanut on the bottom side of the map already. He's going to push that wave out, move back over towards the dragon that's going to spawn in a couple of minutes' time here. Morgan just trying to see if there's any jungle camps available before they completely lose control of the bottom side of the map. And now the question to me is, what did WE do next? Because obviously they can't let this Ocean Drake go. But these fights, especially with Xiye now having 7 kills, we just talked about the second item as a spike. Now he's got his Zhonya's as well.
He just straight up bought that Zhonya's too. There was a lot of gold sitting in his inventory, but I think the best play here for WE is to get Morgan towards this top side. He's the one with teleport. Start making your lanes at least look a little bit better than they do right now, so you have the opportunity to turn towards this dragon, because when you look at LGD's side, you've only got 1 dragon for WE. LGD could just say, hey, look, we don't want to go towards this. We're going to take side lane structures instead.
Morgan knows he doesn't win this 1v1 here. Xiye is massive, and that's going to be Ornn jumping in on the plate as well. Morgan barely surviving and missing arrives to save the day at the end of everything here. Jiumeng jumps in, but I think they realize they can't actually force a play off of the back of this one. Just getting Morgan out of there, though, is going to be worth it.
A lot invested. You've got the ults coming through from Xiye. Langxing's Call of the Forge God as well. This makes things a little bit easier for WE approaching this, where they can actually group up in these close quarter fights, try and play some sort of front to back style, which disables Xiye from getting in. Langxing not really able to touch the back line either. And then it becomes a case of how quickly can Teacherma and Jiumeng get through Xiye and Langxing in comparison to the other tanks in WE.
We'll have to see what WE can do in this next fight, because 7 seconds, this Drake is spawning. Missing, trying to step forward, trying to check into these brushes. Morgan off to the top side, but he doesn't have Dominus available, so it's difficult for him to get into the play. Keep your eyes on Jiumeng and whether Xiye can shut him down, trying to get over with the chain lash. Beishang has got to try and make some kind of miracle steal happen. He gets it. He's going to go down for his play, but you know what? That is well worth it for him. It's going to be 1 kill going the way of LGD. What else can they find off the back of this one, though? Kramer already used that arrow as he gets the volley in. Killua went a little bit deep for this one, but he's just trying to keep them still, trying to keep them in the play as Peanut arrives on the flank, trying to get on through into the play here. Call of the Forge God. It's going to be blocked by Missing. Morgan surviving with the Dominus that came off cooldown. Now Xiye's gone a little bit too far. Can they finish up the kill onto the superstar carry? The answer is no. Morgan now. Dominus in the middle of everyone. Uses the stopwatch. Kramer gets out with his life. As Jiumeng jumps in. Flashes out, but he's knocked up by Langxing. And WE are falling apart once again. Peanut comes in as Xiye blasts the team. And this might just be game 2.
LGD will wrap things up in game number 2. Not as clean as easy as game number 1, but King of Thieves title might be moving over to Beishang after this game.
This has been a beautiful little game 2 here for LGD. A beautiful series so far. And Xiye showing that this rivalry is personal.
Both games now, Xiye has stepped up massively. MVP in game number 1. There's no way he's not MVP in game number 2. This Sylas behind picked, we talked about how important it was for this team. Every time he's been able to pick it up on LGD's side, Xiye has looked absolutely incredible. It's why it's got nearly a 45% ban rate against Xiye specifically, and he looks so clean on it. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah, honestly, the play around Baron, obviously the highlight of the game, nearly got himself a pentakill. But this entire game, Jiumeng didn't get to do anything in these fights because Xiye put so much pressure onto him. Also, Teacherma on the Syndra, while he had a couple of good ultimates, like, ultimately, he didn't even get close to what Xiye was doing during these fights.
And that was the problem, was that we kind of needed to see WE get the ball rolling a bit earlier. We talked about Beishang, who'd gone for this Smite Ignite combo. Well, you need to be aggressive with this, because otherwise, well, Flash is just a better option come these late game fights. And unfortunately for them, they couldn't actually get into these plays. They end up again having this dragon fight that went completely the wrong way for them.
Yeah.
LGD were able to capitalize. And from that point on, LGD, once again, these clean closeouts that we really didn't expect.
It feels like LGD have really tightened a couple of bolts coming into this series, but also WE. You mentioned the dragon fight that went wrong. That's the same story as game number 1. These early dragon fights are meant to be WE's strength. Yeah. This is meant to be where they thrive as a team. Losing in these fights 2 games in a row is a devastating sign for WE, and I'm not going to lie, I'm starting to lose faith for game 3 here.
Yeah, it's not looking pretty so far, and I wanted to see WE play towards their style. Like, it feels like in a awful lot of situations, we talk about, hey, the pick, or whatever the hell we kind of go towards in that mid game for them. But honestly, I want to see them take a step back and go, right, who is the carry for this team? Because it's not Teacherma, it is Jiumeng once again, who is the highest damage in this game. And I want to look towards putting resources in towards him, because Beishang using that Rift Herald mid to get Teacherma set up really didn't pay dividends.
It has to be said, Morgan right at the bottom of the damage once again. This time around, that's not just a matchup thing. I feel like that's an issue.
Yeah, that is a massive issue, especially when you've got that favorable matchup. Langx bullying him heavily in that top lane. And I think that overall, WE kind of feel like they're not sure how they want to approach this. You're getting outclassed in the top lane, outclassed in the mid lane, and even when we look towards that bottom lane where Jiumeng is doing good things, they're not giving him the resource to get set up. And especially when I look at the composition that LGD had, where you've got these super beefcakes in Xiye, you've got the Ornn there as well. You're not going to get through that as a Syndra. You need Jiumeng and also Beishang to be the ones that are capitalizing on this. So putting that Rift Herald play in towards Teacherma instead of in towards Jiumeng in the bottom lane didn't make a lot of sense towards me. And then when we got to these fights where maybe you can have a big impact as the Ezreal, that gold was really lacking, and Teacherma was already out of the fight before it started.
And honestly, when we go into the draft of game number 3, this all rests on Xiye to me. I feel like WE, in a really weird universe that we've ended up in, it feels like WE are the ones that need to start banning mid laners, as opposed to teams banning them against WE, which is kind of backwards. But Xiye has been a terror across the course of this series. He looks incredible. Clearly, this is personal. This is against his old team. This is against the team that he built his name on. And now, just dominating them 2 games in a row. And like, such an evolution of LGD comparatively to the regular split.
So much so. And I love how cleanly they're closing out these games. And we already said, hey, look, we love to see the likes of the Sylas for Xiye, the Ornn for Langx, because that decisiveness is there with these 2 veterans. But when we see it from something like Mark, Raison de Leone, it looks a little bit shaky. So again, we're seeing just picture perfect from LGD. Game number 1, they bring out a composition that we really didn't expect them to play. Game 2, they bring out this engaged squad with 2 of the big things that we needed to see from them working well. So I don't know. I'm not looking happy for WE game 3.
I still believe, guys, the reverse sweep on the cusp potentially. We'll have to wait and see. We're going to game number 3, though, and LGD feeling fantastic off the back of 2 wins in a row. We'll see if WE have anything left in the tank right after the break.